change always throws me for a loop. For some reason, I thought that they had passed the law or whatever, that they weren't going to keep doing it, until I woke up an hour late yesterday. Oops. We have some cold temps in the forecast for the next couple of nights. And by cold, I mean like 32 and 30. Not like how some of you guys are experiencing the cold. So I need to check on everything and get ready, because here in South Carolina, we've already had nights that are staying in the 50s. So I need to get some stuff prepared for the cold. I brought my peppers and my basils in from the greenhouse last night because my greenhouse is not sealed, so it will reach whatever the outside temperature is during the night. It's great for my brassicas because it stays nice where they're not going to get frosted, but it's cold, which they like. But basil and peppers do not like the cold, and it only got up to 48 degrees yesterday. And when I came out to check, my basil leaves were like browning on the edges, so I just went ahead and pulled them inside and put them back under the grow light, and they'll stay in there probably for the next couple days because it's just too much to try to bring them in and out. And it's also hazardous carrying trays. I could drop one and lose all of those seeds. One of the things I am more concerned about is my blossoms. You see my blossoms on my blueberries? Last year we had an issue where we had all of our blossoms. It was getting into the 70s, and then we had it down to 26, and even being covered, it really hurt my blueberry bushes. So my plan, I have a bunch of that paper like packing stuff. I'm gonna wrap it around here and then cover them to give it an extra layer, and hopefully that will keep it where it's not gonna lose its blossoms. My berry patch should all be fine. It is starting to grow, but it doesn't have any blossoms or anything yet. That should all be fine. I may go ahead and just cut off my lettuce heads because I want to make lettuce for dinner anyways. They look amazing, don't they? They look so delicious. My mouth is watering just thinking about eating them. These cabbages, I think they'll be fine. The cabbages kind of tolerate the cold a lot better than some of the other stuff. So I think the cabbages will be fine. I think the broccoli will be fine too, but I might take some of my milk jugs. I have like old blankets and frost blankets and stuff too. So I might just take some of my milk jugs and cover up the broccolis and some of the cabbages just to be safe, because then if something happens, I won't lose all of it. In my area, it's recommended to direct seed cabbages March 15th and broccoli is March 20th. Today is the 13th? I think it's the 13th today. It's either 12th or 13th. 13th. It's Monday. I told you, time change gets me every time. It's a mess. So we're right on schedule with that. But like, it's been so mild and nice out that it would not surprise me if we get a late freeze. So it's the same deal here with my pear tree. See all these lovely blossoms on here? I don't want to lose them. I got 3 pears off my tree last year. It was the first time getting pears off my tree, which was so exciting. And it looks like we're going to get a bunch this year. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that. It's too big to cover it up with like a trash can or something. So I might try putting some sheets over it, because I also don't want to knock those blossoms off trying to protect it at the same time. When it comes to dealing with the weather, a lot of it is just knowledge over the years, and I am nowhere near an expert. So some of the factors that I put into it, if I need to cover stuff or not, is I look at how low is it going to get and for how long. So if it's only going to be 32 for an hour during the night, I probably won't cover this stuff. If it's going to be 32 for like 6 hours during the night, then I'm probably going to cover it, because it's more likely that it's going to freeze versus if the temperature's only dropping to 32 and it's been 58 during the day, it's probably not going to freeze because the ground is going to hold that temperature. When you're trying to figure out if it's going to frost or not too, you're going to look at the dew point at sunset and the temperature. It's a whole thing, and I don't have it completely figured out, so I try to be extra careful on the side of I'm going to cover even if I don't have to, because I don't want to lose all the hard work I've done. There are a lot of factors that go into whether it's going to frost or freeze. If it's cloudy versus if the sky is clear, if the wind is blowing, if it's raining, all of these things can affect whether it's going to frost or not. On a day that there's wind, you're not likely going to see frost form. And when there's wet conditions, when it's raining, your plants are going to fare much better through cold temperatures than they are going to if they're dry.
Sorry.
The more layers that you can give is going to give your plants a better chance. Each layer will help keep the temperature up from the outside temp. So this is going to suck in some sunshine while it's still warm, and then as the cold air comes, that has to go through more layers to get to the plant to freeze it. Now my pear tree is a little bit more complicated. You can see it's a little bit taller than I am, so I can't just throw a trash can over it or anything big. And I also don't want to knock off all these blossoms on my tree. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw a frost blanket over this and kind of hope for the best. The frost blanket is lightweight enough that it shouldn't break off the blossoms and the branches, where if I threw a blanket on it, it might actually damage those branches and definitely might damage those blossoms and the new leaf growth that I have coming out. So it's a little bit more tricky when you're dealing with trees with blossoms when we have some cold air coming back than it is with the smaller plants you can cover. My flowers and herbs I'm not going to cover. I just don't have enough to cover all this stuff. If they get knocked back, it's fine. The herbs are all cold hardy, so if they get knocked back, they'll come back. It's no problem. I have had in years past where my irises have gotten knocked back, and they'll be fine. It'll be fine. What you can do if you're worried about your flowers and you really want them to make it through, you can pile up big stacks of leaves on top of them if you have leaves around trees, and that can help insulate them from the cold to help them make it through a little bit better. Now for my broccolis and my cabbages, they should be okay. They can handle a light frost or even a light freeze, but I like to err on the side of being extra careful. We are going to have some wind tonight, so it may feel colder than it actually is. They're saying right now that it's supposed to be at or below freezing for about 4 hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of my jugs back out from the garage. I'm going to put some jugs on here and then lay some blankets over so that they don't get crushed by the blankets. So I hope you can see I didn't put jugs on every single plant. The jugs are more there to keep the blankets from crushing the plants than they are to keep them warm. So my goal with that was to prop the blankets and sheets up a little bit so that they're not putting all that weight on the plants and then snapping their little stems, because if it snaps that main stem, then the plant's done. So hopefully there's no blankets and sheets thieves out tonight. If there is, oh well. I'm going to see if I can grab a few more sheets and blankets. You can see it's a little bit windy out and it's pretty cloudy out. So I'm going to bank on that it's not going to frost tonight, but it's going to be down to 30, 31, 32 tonight and the next 2 nights. And hopefully you can hear me over the wind. I had to hide in the greenhouse for a second because that wind is really messing with the mic. Hopefully you were able to see what I was doing there and that this helps you with covering up your crops and your flowers and plants if you need to, if you get another sudden cold burst coming through. And I will keep you up to date on how everything does and let you know what works, what doesn't work, how it goes. So hopefully this was helpful, and I'm gonna finish covering up stuff and I will see you next time.